What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel for my third edition this year of an MCU Marvel Cinematic Universe countdown, my least favorite films to my most favorite. And you heard me right, this is my list, one giant personal opinion. I'm not judging these based on how good the movie is or how great the filmmaking is. Yes, I consider all of those things, but I'm just going off of how much do I love these movies, how much do I rewatch them. There are so many factors that go into this, and trust me guys, making this list was very difficult. And Austin, you've done these. Why are you doing another one? Well, first of all, Ant-Man and the Wasp just came out. You can check my review out on my channel. But second of all, my list has shifted quite a bit since the last time I did this list. I have rewatched certain films, thought about other films more, and I just want to talk about this stuff. But I just appreciate you guys sticking with me and going on this journey. I thought I'd go with a red background again because I liked it for the Ant-Man and the Wasp thing, and it goes along with the Marvel theme. Plus, I'm wearing a blue shirt and blue background. I've talked enough, guys. Let's get into this, starting at number 20. Are you kidding me? And at number 20, some things never change with Iron Man 2. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I just think this movie is very choppy. It tries to push us towards an Avengers movie without giving us a cohesive film in the first place. And just something that really bugs me about this film is that they have such a great concept for a villain. They don't really use him. Sam Rockwell is really good. They don't really use that character very well as well. I love the tragic and personal aspects of Tony Stark's character, but they just don't really do much with it. That's the thing about this film. They just don't really do a lot with what they have. That's what bothered me. It's one of the two MCU films that I did not give a fresh review to, although it's close. And the other one that does not hit that mark is number 19, Thor: The Dark World. Just another film. Every single time that I watch it, I just feel like, kind of a drag, kind of boring. There's nothing really like, oh, it's really horrible what you did with these characters and you've made so many grave mistakes. Of course, the villain does suck, but the relationship between Thor and Loki is still good. There are redeeming qualities to all of these Marvel films. It's just Thor: The Dark World doesn't have that many. I love the relationships and the character development, but just give me a story to care about. I just don't love when he goes to Earth. All of that humor feels very forced. This was before they really figured out how they're going to balance humor and that epic tone. Thor: The Dark World doesn't do that, and that's why it's this low on my list. Next up is a movie that people often forget about, and that is The Incredible Hulk starring Edward Norton. I thought he was actually pretty good as Bruce Banner, and I think this movie as a whole is alright. I liked it, I enjoyed it. I don't really go back to it that often, and Mark Ruffalo comes in, he just completely steals the show as the Hulk, but it's a movie that is full of some really solid action scenes. Bruce Banner's running around in another country, and there's some entertaining things there. It's not a movie that you want to go back and watch all that often, although when it's on TV, give it a go. Film that I'm back and forth on. Sometimes I really enjoy it. Sometimes I'm just like, it's Iron Man 3. There are things that are great about this movie that make it a very good Shane Black film. But when it comes to ranking it within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I can't really put it that high. And some of the issues really stem from how they change up the comics. People have complained about it. I am one of the people that it didn't really offend, but it did bother. I didn't love the twist. I didn't love the reveal of certain characters. I'm not really on board with how they went in the third act, although I did love what they did with Tony Stark in the first two acts. And even the simple things like when he's breaking in using his wit and his intellect, some of his greatest superpowers. I love seeing that, and I love his relationship with the boy. It's just when you're stacking it up against the rest of the MCU movies, for me, it falls a little bit flat. But overall, it's a pretty good movie. It's an Avengers movie. Why is it this low? Well, Avengers Age of Ultron, when you're stacking it up, like I said about Iron Man 3, against these other MCU movies, it's not as cohesive to me as some of these other films. And I think it's funny because Joss Whedon had some of the same issues with his own movie that I have about it, and that is just the story, the plot, where it goes, how it all comes together. It didn't feel like it flowed as well as the first one, and some of the humor, like in Thor: The Dark World, it just didn't work for me. I wanted Ultron to be a more opposing threat, and while I did like him as a villain, he could have been a lot better. Overall, this movie is not bad, and it's fun to rewatch. At 15 is a movie that I started out really loving, but the more I watched it, the more I was like, okay, it's not that good, but it's still a really solid film, and that is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I watched this movie, I have a really good time, I laugh a lot. I'm a little disappointed at what they're doing with Drax's character. They're kind of making him a slapsticky guy. He is no longer BA like he was in the first movie, and I feel that way about certain characters in the Guardians franchise, but Guardians Volume 2 has a lot of great things in it, a really cool action scene at the end, and some great moments between Kurt Russell and Chris Pratt. Personally, I don't think it stacks up to the first one, but I don't think it needs to. It's another solid sequel that Marvel continues to deliver. next is Thor! I really enjoyed this first movie. I gave it the exact same score as Ant-Man and the Wasp, so those two movies right now are just like back and forth. The cheesiness, I'm not a huge fan of the cinematography, and the third act's kind of like, okay, it's fine. But you know what? Thor is a really good movie. I love how they strip him of his powers. They give you the first look at Chris Hemsworth, and even though his eyebrows are dyed blonde, it's still the Thor that you know and love, and you grow to love him through this film. He does a really good job. I love the cast, and the directing is super solid. And speaking of solid sequels, the reason that I'm doing this list, and guys, I know this looks low, please do not look at this and say, oh, he put Ant-Man and the Wasp at number 14 on his list. It doesn't mean I don't like the movie. I gave the movie a 74%. That's a really good score. It's a solid sequel. Obviously, it's not the best thing in the world to me, but it's a movie that I really enjoyed, and it's in my top 20 films of the year so far. I've watched 80 films. If you want to see my thoughts, go check out my review, but Ant-Man and the Wasp is full of fun times, really good moments, great comedic characters, and some things that I just loved about this plot. I don't think the villains are great, and I don't like how they don't explain certain things about the plot, but you know what? It's still a good time in the theater. Please go check it out, and don't get mad at me for putting it this low, because once again, I enjoyed it, and who knows, once I watch it again, it may go up, or it may go down. Now we come to the first movie on this list that I love, and that is Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is a great movie, and I actually think it's a little bit better of a film than the next movie on my list, but I just think the next movie is a bit more rewatchable. That's my only thing about Doctor Strange. A lot of people love to rewatch it. It's Madison's favorite Marvel film, but for me, it's not the most rewatchable of the Marvel films because there's just a lot to it. What happens to him is rough, and that's something that I don't like soaking in every so often, but I still think Doctor Strange is a fun movie with great special effects and awesome action scenes. The villain's a little, okay, the villain kind of sucks, but other than that, I think the movie's super solid. Doctor Strange is a great film. Maybe one of my most controversial picks, that is Captain America: The First Avenger. I love this movie more than most people. I go back and rewatch it every so often, and sure, some of the special effects aren't the greatest things in the world. It's a little cheesy in parts, but I love the way that he meshed the action with the adventure aspect and putting this in the past, giving you probably the most proper introduction Captain America could have had on the big screen, because let's face it, this character is kind of cheesy and corny, but Chris Evans comes on. He plays it so awesome. I love how you have these minor characters that you cheer for throughout the movie, and then that ending, it gets me emotional every time, and maybe it's because Captain America is my favorite superhero. I don't know, I really enjoy this movie. Ant-Man is a movie, like I said, it's my list of my favorites, and I love rewatching this because it's just so dang fun. It's entertaining. I love the dynamics. I love the relationship between Paul Rudd and his daughter in the film. They do such a great job. I love the way the story flows. I love the heist aspect, meeting Michael Peña's character. All of these characters which do a great job in Ant-Man and the Wasp. I just think Ant-Man is a stronger and more cohesive story. I think the villain is cool, although I don't love what they do with the character, but overall, Ant-Man is super fun. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it and get ready for the sequel. I can't believe this is at number 9, because when I first watched this movie last year, I'm like, okay, this is one of my favorite Marvel films, it's awesome, and my thoughts really haven't changed. I've just enjoyed other movies more, and that's Spider-Man: Homecoming. My God, guys, I gave this movie an 88%, and it's at number 9 on my list. Call me a Marvel fanboy, you're probably right, but I love the MCU films, and I think Spider-Man: Homecoming is an awesome, fun, Ferris Bueller-esque superhero movie. I like how they managed to put Tony Stark in there without it feeling like they kind of shoehorned and forced him into the plot. It's a very natural and progressive plot with really good characters. I love the development, and I really enjoy the way that Michael Keaton's Vulture comes in there and makes a huge impact. I know, Iron Man is at number 8, and I know it used to be a lot higher on my list, and nothing's really changed. I just think some of these other movies are a little bit better. I love Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark for a long time. He was my favorite interpretation of any superhero, and just the way that this movie goes, it turns out, I love Jeff Bridges as Ironmonger. I just think this movie is something special. I know it's at number 8 on my list. It's still one of my favorites of all time. I'll go back and rewatch it. Iron Man is an awesome film. You guys know how great it is. I don't have to tell you. I'm sorry it's this low on my list, but I'm giving you guys my honest opinion. At number 7 is Black Panther. Black Panther is a movie that I have already watched 4 times this year. It has not gotten better for me, but it's also not really gotten worse. I think there are so many great things about this film. Do I believe that it should be the highest rated Marvel film on Rotten Tomatoes? No, I certainly do not, but I do believe that it should get some kind of notoriety for how good of a film it is. I think Logan should have got that last year. I think Black Panther should get it this year because the acting, the performances, and just the filmmaking in general from Ryan Coogler was awesome. And Michael B. Jordan, everybody has said it, he stole the show as Killmonger, and up until a certain movie, he was one of my favorite Marvel villains. Still is. I think he's great. But let's be honest, the thing that keeps me coming back is the music. It is some of the best Marvel has ever given us. I love the soundtrack. And next up, you guys are seeing where this list has changed if you have watched my other video. This is Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a crazy, zany, out there idea that James Gunn came up to Marvel and said, hey, I'm going to do this, and he did it. He delivered. I love the casting. I love the characters. I love where the story goes. I think a little bit of it is cliche, and I didn't love Ronan as a villain once again, but they nail every other aspect, and I think Chris Pratt is the ultimate Star-Lord, better than anybody else could have played him. And the movie that took its place, a lot of people aren't going to like this because it's not everybody's cup of tea, and I understand that, but this is my personal list, and I'm talking about Thor Ragnarok. I have watched this movie like 10, 15 times. I continue to go back and rewatch it. It's always playing on my Netflix when I don't have anything else to watch. And honestly, the first time I watched it, I actually liked Spider-Man Homecoming more. That just tells you how opinions can change, and you can never be set on how you feel about something the first time you watch it. But after watching it 10 times, I have to say Thor Ragnarok is so much fun. I love everything about it. I think the ending is one of the coolest endings of all time. Yes, there are certain issues with the green screen, some plot problems, but overall, I think Thor Ragnarok is one of the coolest, most rewatchable, and different superhero films of all time, and that is why I'm being ballsy and putting it in my top 5. At number 4 is the one that started it all. Well, it started the process of teaming up and coming together for the first time. That's the Avengers. You guys know how much I love this movie. I have said it before on my other lists. I ran outside and jumped on top of a car the first time I saw it. Still one of, if not the best theater experiences I have ever had, seeing these characters come together for the first time. Joss Whedon's really good directing. There are small problems, and I do not like how it's a little bit more cartoony than the other movies. Other than that, this movie is freaking awesome. And everyone's going to expect this movie to be at number 1 on my list, but the other 2 movies above it, I have watched them so many more times, and I've really soaked everything in I could about those films, and I haven't with this one yet, and that is Avengers Infinity War. It's a movie that I do believe could possibly end up at number 1 on this list. I need to continue to watch it and process everything that happens. Do I think it's as strong of a film as some of the other movies on this list? No, but as an experience, it is possibly the greatest theater experience I have personally ever had. It's so hard to balance all of these characters. The Russo brothers really didn't have a choice, yet they did it, and they did it successfully. One of the greatest endings of all time to any blockbuster movie in history. The only reason it's not at number 1 yet, it's because the 2 films above it are a bit more cohesive to me, but like I said, guys, I need to keep rewatching this because Infinity War is still my number 1 favorite movie of this year, and I do not see that changing because it's freaking amazing. I have hit the number 30. That is either a big issue or it's just something that people might consider impressive. But Captain America Civil War is it's one of the coolest films. It's the best action scene I've ever seen in a superhero movie. I got emotional. I love what they do with Tony Stark and the Winter Soldier and Captain America at the end. I think everything about this movie works so well. The only problem that I have minor issues with the villain. That's people's main flaws within the movie, and I understand. But I do have my reasons on why I think Zemo is a better villain than people give him credit for. You'll save that for another day. Do I think it's as epic as Infinity War? No. Do I think it's as personal as Winter Soldier? No, but there's just something about it that keeps me coming back, and I've already said everything that I like about the story and the technical qualities and the music and just the way that they introduce Spider-Man and Black Panther. I just want to leave you with this. Sometimes you watch a movie and there's just something there. You're smiling the entire time, and there's something that keeps you coming back. That is Captain America Civil War for me. There's just something about it, guys. There's something about this movie. When I watch it, I just feel like I could sit there and soak it all in over and over and over. Captain America the Winter Soldier. I love this movie, what the Russo brothers came on the scene, coming from a show like Community and bringing us an action film like this, the espionage feel to it, making Captain America one of the most BA superheroes of all time, and really kind of cementing him as my #1 favorite. Some of the best action scenes Marvel and any superhero film has ever given us, guys. I love everything about the Winter Soldier. It is so much fun. I rewatch it all the time. I have watched it over 20, 25 times, and I will keep doing it because this thing is one of the best solo adventures you will ever see on the big or small screen. I don't know if it's going to stay at #1, but you had a great run, and I do still think it's my favorite MCU film of all time. But wow, what a difficult... I mean, this is the hardest video that I've ever had to do. I sat and I thought about these movies, and my goodness, guys, I feel so bad for putting certain ones low and great for putting certain ones high. I don't know what to do with my life right now. What am I going to do? Thank you for watching this video. I know it's long. I know it's drawn out, a little bit boring, but guys, I love talking about superhero films in general, but be sure to leave your comments. What do you guys think? What is your favorite Marvel film? This is not about me. This is about me finding out what are your all's favorite movies. If you want to know my scores and my percentages for each film, go on my Letterboxd page. That link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Everything that you guys do is absolutely incredible. For the thumbs up, just all of the support, and be sure to go check out my Ant-Man and the Wasp review. You guys are the absolute best, and I'll catch you later.